Greetings and salutations, my name is Del Trento, and Fire Emblem here is reviewing Berkut, the Prideful Prince. This Blue Lance Cavalry unit was first released as a reward for the Grand Hero Battle. You and I are going to go over his stats, some builds, both inexpensive and top shelf, but before we talk about those, let's get his digits. As a rule of thumb, an offensive stat of 35 will turn my head, a defensive stat of 32 will pique my interest, and 42 and above for hit points puts me at ease. And Berkut only hits one of these fields, which shouldn't be surprising. He is a horsey rider, and horsies tend to have lower overall base stat total. 43 hit points will keep us around for a while, and the 31 defense matches Camus, so Berkut has some meat to him. His resistance is okay, 24 isn't anything to write home about, but let me put that in the back burner for a minute. 34 attack, so close to the magic number. Berkut doesn't have a unique weapon, which usually sports 16 might, so we aren't going to get to 50 altogether, which is important, but let's address the slow, plodding elephant in the room. 22 speed. Seriously, puts a bad taste in my mouth. Excuse me. Ugh, this is terrible. I mean, to put it in perspective, there are several units that have a 22 speed, and there are 2 units that have a lower speed, Sophia and Zephiel. And you would double Zephiel if you didn't have Wary Fighter, so in other words, you're not doubling anything. Guys, if this was the foundation to a house, construction would have been shut down. I love playing with hero stats and builds, but it's times like this that just makes me want to skip past a hero and move on. Now, there are horsey emblem buffs that will help you out, but this guy is not a solo operator. So, speaking of others, let's compare him to his contemporaries. So we see among Blue Lance Cavalry units, we have the most hit points. And skipping a few columns over to the right, we see that we share the same high defense with Camus. Technically, there is somebody above that, Spring Xander. He has a 35, but he's an exclusive unit, and I didn't want to tease you with that dapper fellow's face. Taking a look at his other stats, attack, we're also on top of that, Sully being at the bottom, Roderick somewhere being in the middle there. Roderick and Sully come back with a vengeance with the highest speed out of all of our horsey riders. And there's Berkut all the way at the bottom. We already talked about defense. There's pretty much a cluster there at the bottom. And then resistance-wise, as we stand right now at the 24, we're right there in the middle. Well, Berkut doesn't wildly flail at the enemy with those weird spiky hair things he sports, so let's take a look at his skills. So Berkut has his own lance! Like, he doesn't have to borrow one from Sharina. It comes with his name on it and everything. It's inheritable, so if someone else leaves theirs at home, Berkut can help them out. Might 14 is great with an inheritable weapon. Its effect is like a messed up version of Warding Below, where Berkut is attacked not when he attacks, but when he gets attacked. He gets 4 resistance buff. Blazing Flame is a 5-turn cooldown skill that throws true damage at enemies in a horizontal line. Fried Infantry. These skills are really popular on horsies, actually, it seems like, and they're very fun in PvE. You aren't likely to see this used in PvE, though. The fights just don't last that long. Berkut also has a horsey spur for the C slot, but Berkut is the first to sport water boost. Boost skills give you a buff of 6 to a stat, like res in our case, if you have more hit points than the opponent. For those playing the home game, that gives us a base of 24 and then a buff of 10 when we're attacked, so that brings us up to 34. That is quite substantial. Matilda has a 35 resistance whenever she's vanilla. Just to put things in perspective for you, let's take a look at the Obituaries. 5 wins, 13 losses, 134 draws. Wow, that's pretty abysmal. When initiated on, it's 123 and 132. We can see who we're winning against right here. Not anything surprising, I would hope. To take a look and see who punches us in the face pretty hard. This is the 23 whenever we're initiated on. I put all the casters down at the bottom. It's very important to separate them because theoretically who should be withstanding hits against casters. If we take a look at this list, honestly, 23 people that get us, I mean, there's gem weapon users in here, there's brave weapon users in here, there's people with Rider's Bane weapons in here. We shouldn't be surprised about some of the people we're losing to here. They're pretty tanky, they're pretty potent, they're really thick green or very quick blue. I don't think that this is that terrible. I mean, the number is terrible, but who we're losing against, I mean, I'm like looking at this list and not too many of them are PvP staples. Some of them are, but there's nothing here to really worry about. And whenever you're doing PvE stuff, these guys are easy enough to work around. There's nobody here, like, it's not like we're running in fear from Reinhardt or anything like that. This is pretty manageable. And so I think whenever you look back at his skills, you could see what Berkut's intention is. You want to use him to tank opponents, both melee and ranged opponents, and you'll get doubled a lot, but this just builds up your special. So eventually you get to let loose with Blazing Flame and knock somebody out. So of course healing support's going to be really awesome for him, as well as all the horsey buffs. But when it comes down to it, Berkut is somebody who's supposed to be a blue moving wall. Camus, a lot of people comparing Berkut to Camus. I think it's a mistake. Camus is meant to be played aggressively. Berkut is made to be played defensively. Even though his initiation score doesn't necessarily scream great defender, he actually is set up in a way that you're supposed to come to him, and eventually towards the end, if you don't remove him as a threat really quickly, he's going to make you pay for it. So let's see here what we could do to maybe fill him out a little bit and make him a little more potent. As far as filling out his extra slots go, you saw this recommendation coming if you know me. Reposition, and here's my justification for it. Reposition on a horsey is really nice because you're able to get them into position to move someone out of the way, and in Berkut's case, you're going to be able to take a hit for them. It's just the range that it covers with a horse is really great. It's probably the second best use of reposition on a blanket unit. So reposition, you could also use swap if your heroes get motion sickness really easily. So pick your poison there. Swordbreaker 3 is wonderful. It's going to give us the killing power that I expect a blue unit to have. You're going to be doubling a lot. You already have a decent hit, so this is going to put it to good use. So Swordbreaker is a wonderful skill to put in your B slot. Quick Riposte does the same thing. If you really like the idea of letting people come to you, then go ahead and put Quick Riposte on. You could use Quick Riposte 2. Quick Riposte 3 is not going to be buying you that much, and it's expensive, so you might as well just go ahead and grab a Tsubaki, use Quick Riposte 2. And I usually don't recommend Lunge for anybody, however, it seems to work okay on Berkut. Reason being, he could go ahead and hit somebody and swap their position. It puts that unit closer to the rest of your murder machines in the back, and it gets you closer to their mages, which you could already take a hit from. So Lunge actually works in our favor in this instance. Let's take a look at a couple of complete overhauls. Now, before I address what's on the screen right now, I want to talk to you about boost skills, because they're useless in advanced PvE content. You aren't going to be guaranteed to have the higher hit points. Also, Berkut's Lance is garbage, so each build I present to you is going to replace it, despite the fact that I tend to like to keep a hero's weapon on them. So, with all of that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the Glass Cannon build. Brave Lance, Reposition, surprise surprise, Moonbow, Death Blow, Lance Breaker, and I like to switch out and put go Cavalry on them. 109, 1627, he does this rather well. Brave Lances are good on people that have either a really high speed and high attack, or have a really low speed but high attack. And Death Blow helps him out really well. There's no point in doing Life and Death on him. He's not going to get that much more from the speed boost, and you're just going to be ruining his defenses. No reason to do that. You might as well let him be a little bit tanky and still use the Brave Lance. He's going to run up there, smash people. You could probably switch out Lancebreaker for like a drag back or a hit and run if you really want to. Lancebreaker's going to get you a few more kills here and there and let you get the doubles that you need to get the numbers up. Not the best Brave Lance user by far, but if you don't have one, he's very serviceable. If for some reason you have like a minus attack able, this is a great place to put that Brave Lance. Let's take a look at a few other things now. If you throw a Rider's Bane weapon onto him, that makes him someone who could go after all those annoying mounted horsies, just like he is. Bonfire is going to work great because of his defense. I'd recommend Bonfire since he's not going to be doubling anybody. Speaking of doubling people, though, Swift Sparrow does help him out quite a lot. It's going to get him a few of the slower horse lords, and then, of course, with that comboed with Swordbreaker, it's going to really make sure that he's going to wreck a lot of face. You can actually switch out Swift Sparrow for Darting Blow. It's going to be almost as good. You're missing out on some damage, but Darting Blow is going to give him just that reach that's needed to get some of the lower tier horse riders, and that's exactly what we're looking for here. 61, 9, and 82. It's not a bad build. If you have a screwed up Matilda, I recommend throwing that Rider's Bane sword, or Lance, Lance, on over this way. Now we're going to start to evaluate some builds here as if everyone in the battlefield had Deathblow on them, because Berkut has this really nice defense and it'd be great to use it. So on a defensive team, you could put that Rider's Bane weapon on him. Close defense 3 really saves his bacon, and quick riposte 3 gives a really huge hit back. 60, 35, and 37. This number looks smaller until you remember this is against people with death blow on them. So he's defending very well. He has quite a large field that he's taking care of, and he sticks around quite well. He always is going to fall to green mages. He's always going to fall to the thick, tanky greens, and not many of those appear in PvP arena. In PvE, you probably already have a solution to handle greens anyway. You're probably running somebody else. So Berkut's going to do exactly what you need him to in this particular case if you have the skills to buff him up here. Honestly, if you don't have close defense 3, normal defense 3 is going to get you a lot of mileage. It's strange how well it's going to perform for you, and it performs like this in all circumstances, which is wonderful. And lastly, I want to show you what distant counter looks like on this. 103, 34, and 13. He has a lot to offer at this point in time. It's an expensive build. You're talking about 1, 2, 3 different 5-star units. You're talking about a couple of 4 stars to fill out the rest. This isn't cheap. But if you're investing in Berkut and you have, a spare Hector sitting around, I have 3, don't you? Then you could go ahead and buff him up, and he's actually going to do very well. And the number speaks for itself. That's pretty good. Is he the best defender? No. But he is going to do very well for you. There's no reason why you can't have a Berkut that's going to stand and deliver. So that's the last build I have for you. And hey, do me a favor. If you're on mobile, rotate your phone back to portrait mode. If you're on desktop, hit escape and click that like button if I've given you something to chew on. If you missed some of the latest Fire Emblem Heroes info, tap or click on any of the videos on the left. And if you want your information hot and fresh like Grandma's cookies, click that subscribe button. My name's Deltran. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate all of you, and until next time, take it easy.